5:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Commissioner Mesmar, if you can lead us in an invocation.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, dear God, please look after and have mercy on the sick, the suffering, the recently passed, those in prisons and jails, those held captive against their will, the missing, and all of those who believe in you. And may I say, Bože, spasi nás, Gospodi pomiluj.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I hereby call this meeting to order. I call the meeting of the Harlingen City Commission to order and observe that we have a quorum of the Harlingen City Commission here present. For those of you who are wondering, I am not Norma. I'm Rini Perez. I'm the Commissioner of District 5, but Norma couldn't be here today, and but we're going to keep on going. I would ask the City Attorney to read the conflict of interest admonition.
Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a council member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with conflicts of interest cannot participate in the discussion nor vote on the agenda item. Are there any known conflicts of interest to disclose at this time?
No.
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 In this sophistry, I call up a Joni Mitchell line. I'm a free man in Paris, and I'm unfettered and alive. No.
Glad to hear that, Commissioner.
No. Okay, now we're going to citizen communication. Amanda, do we have any?
Yes, sir, we do. We have 4. And the first one is Raymond Reyes, 706 Nut Tucker Drive, and progress is the topic. Right here, if I can call him. Okay, sir, the next one is Ron Lozano, 2410 Riverside Drive, and the topic is CC.
Which is the topic we're on, the citizen communication, not trying to be so sophistry. Like, I come here to commend some of the cooler heads in...
Mr. Lozano, for the record, can you just put your name and district?
Yes, it's District 3. And I'm in Ron Lozano, as he's just stated. Last time I was here, there was an allusion to ghost, and I kid you not, we were, as a city of Harlingen, planning on getting in a partnership with a firm that seeks ghosts. And that's what I meant about the cooler heads of certain offices. I can certainly think that Assistant City Manager Josh Ramirez was instrumental in curbing such partnership, simply because some of you well know that once you get entangled with government, it can become almost a permanent feature, as someone like my district person wants to be free. So I do come to commend them, and also Mr. Saucy is prepared in the future to meet these things head on, and I have all the confidence that we won't have to revisit these kind of poor nocturnal things that sometimes some people envision. And I also wanted to say one last comment, which is that I felt that there was not at times, some of these new efforts, sometimes they're going to have a little teeth. And so hopefully in some of your consent agenda items, which are fairly serious, if there is infractions that you hold people to the fire, because we have to have respect for the law in that sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, sir. The next one is Stephen Holland Jr. Its address is 24391 Preston Trail, and would like to be called during the meeting. Hello, Mr. Holland. This is Amanda Elizondo, City Secretary for the City of Harlingen. You signed up for citizens communication. You have 3 minutes to speak, sir, and I'll start the clock right now. You may start.
I'm actually here in the town hall waiting to go inside.
Oh, okay.
So,
Tell them to come up. Tell them to come up.
Oh, I already. Okay, hold on.
Stephen
Let me call him
Holland.
again.
What's his name?
Holland.
Amanda, he's coming.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Allen.
Good afternoon.
If you could please state your name and your district for the record.
I'm not sure which district it is,
What's your
but
address?
Stephen R. Holland Jr., live at 24391 Preston Trail, 78552. Country Club Estates.
Sounds like you want.
Okay, go ahead. 3 minutes, please.
Basically, I called Union Pacific Corporate today in Omaha, Nebraska, about how the train likes to go through town and block off Harrison Tyler for at least 25 plus minutes. And I also called the police department today too, and they said that, well, there's no longer a way that, the city can do anything about making the trains go forward. So I had a friend who used to work for Union Pacific Corporate in Omaha, Nebraska, who's retired, but I still called them today, spoke to them about the issue. They said that if a problem does, come across where the train is sitting there blocking for an X amount of time, that we can actually call this particular number to where they can do dispatch to the trains or whatever to get them in motion instead of sitting there with everybody waiting in line. So if you want the phone number, I can provide that to you. That way the city can maybe contact UP and maybe work out some times to where the train doesn't go and block traffic, like in the morning when people are going to work, lunchtime, or when people are trying to go home, because that's usually when it happens here. So like I said, if you want that number, I can provide it to you right now.
Please, if you can, please give it to our city manager.
Other than that, that's it.
Thank you.
What is that number?
Okay, we have one more, sir, and that's Nelda Jaramillo, and the address, no address, City of Harlingen resident, and item number 8, dispatchers pay.
Any particular person?
So I don't know if she's here right now, or she might be
Okay,
downstairs.
great, thank you.
But she doesn't have a phone number, sir, she didn't provide a phone number. So maybe,
Okay, thank you.
no?
Okay, we'll go ahead and move to presentation of the following recognition awards. First one would be the UIL One Act Play. Okay, it's very familiar. I think I might have had a few of you in my class. First off, thanks for coming to City Hall. I asked Mr. Reynolds for you guys to come to City Hall, and Eddie as well, so that way you guys can get recognized for your hard work. These guys are part of the One Act Play at Harlingen High School South. I'm sure some of you have heard about them. They've come out on the paper. They've been recognized by the school board. They've accomplished great things. And I asked Mayor Sepulveda if she could go and present a recognition award on behalf of the city. And I'm going to read it real quick, and then okay. The city of Harlingen congratulates the Harlingen High School South Hawks Cast One Act Play Company, which includes George Gonzalez, Levi Ince, Cole Kibler, Aaron Blunt, Adriana Rodriguez, the crew, Alec Arabuz, Madison Houston, Brendan Cisneros, Holly Mercado, Sadie Jensen, Athena Wilson, Joshua Trevina, Eva Bowler, Abby Sanchez, Katie Vasquez, Abigail Burton, CJ High School, Bruce Gonzalez, Jolene Flores, Zoe Zamora, Devin Claudio, Joanna Pimentel, and Carla Rivera. Having advanced to the final state competition round of the top 6A plays in the state of Texas for the play, Things I Know to Be True by Andrew Bedell, finishing 5th place out of 197 schools, and for the countless hours of hard work and dedication resulting in a remarkable performance. This award is presented on this,
The 20th.
of July of 2022, signed Norma Sepulveda, Mayor. Obviously, I'm not Norma, but she asked me, she couldn't be here today, but she asked me to share her congratulations on this big award. And I just want y'all to understand that the hard work that these kids go through. Like I said, some of these were my students. And they would go to the Performing Arts Center, and they would there be practicing, sometimes till what, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And even though they did that, they still had a crazy U.S. history teacher who would still assign them tons and tons of homework, but yet they still got it done. So my hats off to them because they deserve this recognition, and I know your parents are proud of you, I know your teachers are proud of you, and myself included. I also want you to know that the city is proud of you as well. Okay, so congratulations. Don't actually lie.
Yeah. Can I get you right in the center so right there? Three, two, one. Yeah. Perfect.
Can we get the rest of you guys?
Of course we can.
They don't know if this
Don't move,
box.
don't move, I'll get it.
Good picture.
Right there.
He's gonna abstain. This is too.
Here we go. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Need more space. This is part of the
Now we have the athletes of Pro Scouts. Today we're going to recognize these young ladies for their great accomplishments. The City of Harlingen, Texas congratulates the athletes and pro scouts for the countless hours in perfecting their technique with tumbling, stunting, flying, choreography, and performance. Through their hard work and dedication, they earned a spot to compete at the D2 Summit Varsity All-Star Cheer Competition in Orlando, Florida, at the ESPN World Sports Center on May 2022. Considered the Super Bowl of All-Star Cheerleading and Moonlight Senior Level 2 team. Bringing home the Gold Black prestigious award. This award is presented on the 20th day of July 2022 by our mayor, Norma Sepulveda. Obviously, guys, I'm not Norma. But on behalf of her, she asked me again, once again, to say congratulations. I was very impressed when Ms. Stone, she let me know about what you guys did, and it's amazing. This is like can you tell me a little more about this?
We're a competitive, not like high school, no sideline cheers, just strict skills, tumbling, stunts,
So you can tell they're I don't doubt the hard work that they put into this. My daughter is really into this, and I see her do her little practice stuff, and I'm like, wow. So I can just imagine what these ladies are capable of. But for you guys to go all the way to Orlando and compete and win, that's amazing. So congratulations from the city, and we're very proud of you.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. One more time. And everybody looks like you're really happy. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we will now move to the approval of minutes, which I believe we're going to pass on to the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Now to the consent agenda. I will be removing from the consent agenda item 3C. Other than that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, votes in favor?
Aye.
Any votes opposed? The consent agenda is passed or approved. Okay, now to new business. Number 4, consideration and possible action to approve the final report from Comp Finley on broadband connectivity in Harlingen.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor Pro Tem. Colt Finley has been working on a broadband feasibility study, and they're here to do a final report on the study.
I'd like to add real quick, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the commission, that a copy of their PowerPoint, yes, it's there on your packet, so you can look at it later. A complete copy of the report was sent to Mass 360, so you should have that in your iPads or your Microsofts.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Homer Basan. I'm with Cobb Finley here in the McAllen office. I was formerly with TxDOT for 33 years, so I'm here in my second career here with Cobb Finley. And we're here to give, like Mr. Gonzalez mentioned, we're here to give a status or a report on the study that we recently completed for the city. A little bit about Cobb Finley first. We were founded in Houston back in 1980, so we have 42 years of service. We're considered a full-service engineering and surveying company of over 600 employees. We're primarily in the state of Texas. We have over 20 offices, of which McAllen is one of the newer offices of the company. Joining me here today is some of our team that worked on the study. I'm there on top. I'm the McAllen office manager officially. Below me there is Jared Brandstetter. He's the Broadband discipline group lead. He is not here with us, but he was the initial PM of the project when it started. And Melissa Beaudry is here next to me. She has transitioned into the PM role on this project. And Jacob Triska here, to my right here, is the project engineer that has worked on this project all throughout. Now, a little bit about the project and how it got started, and these 3 quotes here give a little description as far as how this came about. The first quote there, it mentions back in 2019 there was a study or a survey done by the Census American Community Survey of 185 large and mid-sized cities. And this is an article in the Valley Morning Star. And according to that, of the 185 cities, Harlingen ranks second to the last as far as broadband connection. FAR was ranked the lowest. So, and we're working with both those cities. Now we're working with City FAR, and now we're working with City Harlingen. Now, this project or this project study evolved beginning with a partnership between the city and the Harlingen Consolidated ISD. It was split 50-50. On this one, this middle quote there, which came from Mr. Gonzalez here, one of the first things they mentioned to us was that the city was leasing a lot of fiber lines, and one of their goals with the study was to implement fiber lines to the government buildings, and therefore they would not have to pay rent or lease these lines any further. And on the last quote there is from Harlingen CISD. Basically, it mentions, and I think everybody in this room understands the need or how critical broadband service has become during the pandemic. And so this is the main reason why the school was interested in making sure that all their students had broadband service in their homes. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Melissa, who will continue the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me? There we go. Okay, a little taller. So as Homer laid out, you all know a big reason as to why we went through this study. There was a real need already before, and then the pandemic just reinforced the need for especially the students. And as mentioned, City of FAR is building their own network. They're providing a great model for what that could look like. And there are other leaders in the Valley that are looking at alternative models as well. And so with you all doing this study, you're also leading that effort for the Valley and really across the country in terms of understanding what the need is across your community, identifying those assets, and then figuring out how to create a model and a design that will bring that connectivity and provide potentially an opportunity for ownership for the city itself. So as you can see here, we talked about the main purpose of the study to be looking at those existing assets, as I said, and really for the city of Harlingen, another key issue isn't necessarily that there isn't the service here, but that there were low adoption rates. And so we wanted to identify why. Is that price point? Is that just not happy with the service? Is that they're using other forms of data or Wi-Fi? What are the reasons there? And then looking for opportunities to expand those offerings. We really, as was outlined by Mr. Gonzalez's quote, we also wanted to look at that potential for the city and ownership and how connecting the city's infrastructure could become an asset for the city itself and for its residents. So this outlines our scope of work. We did start working with you all in November and have been moving through this feasibility study over the last 6 months or so. We started with stage 1, which really, again, was looking at the existing assets and also engaging with the public and then creating a baseline map of data that looks at what the infrastructure across the city is. We then moved into stage 2, and that's where we start to develop a network design, and that starts to evaluate potential geographic barriers, or other issues as we think through how to best connect all of the city's infrastructure and create connectivity through various options to get into the community and provide that connection for the community where it's not currently at a good level of service. And then we can look at implementation. So now we've looked at what needs to be implemented, how do we implement that? And so that gets into the study. There's a lot of material on the various business models that can be utilized, an implementation plan, as well as funding opportunities that can be attained in order to execute those different business models. This is, in this world of broadband, there's a lot of terms, and so we wanted to give you all just a couple of terms that we might use over the next couple minutes. A big one to focus on is that middle mile. That is the main infrastructure we're proposing in the high-level design and focusing on, and that is really a critical component to then be able to bring enough connectivity to then provide that last-mile service to the home, to the business. But also the middle mile includes as well the city interconnects and a potential city-owned asset ring. So all of that's considered a part of what you will see as the middle mile. That last mile, as I said, is really sometimes it's more than a mile, but it's the amount of infrastructure needed to bring the connectivity to the home. Fiber is the actual pieces itself that are in the ground. Fiber is an amazing asset that in technology it's been started to really become the fabric of our communities over the last decade or so. There's a lot of current providers that use copper that are building off of old telecom systems. And so we really are looking at building a fiber network for you all as a part of this design. High-level design just means simply that. It's not getting all the way to the details of that last mile. It's sticking within the middle mile. And then these two key terms, unserved and underserved, these are terms that have been defined by the NTIA, which is the federal agency overseeing a lot of the funding that we'll discuss later. And these levels of service, the 25 download and 3 upload and 100 download and 20 upload are the levels that they have assessed is what they see as wanting to reach. And so with the funding sources, they're going to be looking for they're going to be looking at eligibility for the underserved, and they want everyone to get to at least 100/20 as the level of service achieved with the funding. So those are just important eligibility terms. So as I said, part of that first stage was a review of an opportunity to engage with the public. So there was a speed test and a survey that were presented on the city website and promoted through the HCISD as well as other avenues. And we did receive 423 survey responses. And the questions went into a lot of qualitative data. They wanted to know not only things about your internet service provider, though those were key questions, but also what do you like about living in the city of Harlingen? What are the things that keep you living here, and how does internet connect in with those? So how does overall quality of life, how does internet connect into your overall quality of life? And then we did ask questions about who's your current provider, how do you get your internet, things like that.
Is
Yes.
that a very low response? 423?
It is and it isn't. I mean, anytime we've been putting out these surveys to residents, if we get 10%, that's a lot. So I can't do the quick math of total residents, but it's not a low amount. I think one thing that we were really, really interested in and we weren't able to troubleshoot fully is the disconnect between the number of speed test responses and the survey responses. But I think it might have been, we weren't able to really determine, but could be placement on the website, or if folks didn't really know what to do with the speed test itself. So that gets really into digital literacy, which ends up reinforcing what we found, which is that there's a need to enhance digital literacy in the city. But I would say overall, it's not like we've done 6 studies so far, and those numbers are pretty average. We've had a lot more, but on average, it's not a low number. It is a sample. It will always be a sample. So one of this overall graph kind of shows the bigger question of the survey takeaway in regards to internet connectivity. And as you can see here, we asked about a variety of factors that relate to your internet connection, your price, your provider, overall reliability, can you live, work, and do with your current level of service. And this can be a little bit hard to understand fully, so we've created the survey score, which really shows those areas that are red and orange are the issues that are most pressing for folks. So it's that pricing point and just the fact that they might not have other options. So if you've got a high price and only one provider, you're kind of stuck. So that's really what we would say would lead to issues of adoption. So there is a provider there, which in terms of can we invest in money to overbuild, to bring in a new provider, you might not be able to if there's a current provider, but if the price for what they're offering is too high for folks to adopt to, well then there's still an issue. We're still gonna have a digital divide and we're not getting service to the people. But it's different than there's nothing there. There's no coverage. And I'm gonna turn over to Jacob to go through our speed test and then dig into the design.
So as mentioned before, the speed test didn't gather a lot of results in as many as we were hoping. But what we like to do with the results is compare what people are actually seeing at their homes compared to what they're paying for. The hard part about the sample we did have is it's not a great representation, but for what we did collect, for the underserved and unserved scoring of 25/3 or 100/20. Spectrum, using the average, met the unserved requirement, but it didn't meet the underserved requirement. And as you can see through the other ones, none of these met that threshold. But the problem with that is when the internet companies are reviewing the information, as long as there's one house in a census block that does receive that threshold, then the entire census block is showing served. So what we want to do with this is kind of just combine this with the information that was gathered that I'll show in the next couple of slides. Part of our scope included showing what all is already present in the city of Harlingen. And so through our research, we found that there were 6 providers with approximately 360 miles of fiber throughout the city. So the problem isn't that there isn't service as detailed through the survey, but as we'll see later, it's more of an adoption issue. And as mentioned earlier, the school district was funding this study 50%, and so part of the reason why they were doing that is because many of their students do not have internet at their homes. And so what we wanted to do is the border around the area is obviously not the city of Harlingen, but it's a combination of the city of Harlingen and Harlingen Consolidated ISD. So we wanted to include everything in the analysis. And so what we're showing here is just a heat map of the spatial location of where the students who don't have internet are living. That way we can interpret the data and move forward with the analysis to see if there's any trends and similarities. And so as part of our high-level design, we wanted to combine those areas of students who do not have internet, as well as some of the lower income census blocks, and on top of that, what the FCC is considering underserved. So as I mentioned, as long as one house in a block is served, then the entire block is shown as served. And so in the greater Harlingen area, the darker orange up north is what is considered underserved. And the rest is highlighted because of the income or the students. And so gathering all this information, we can see where the true areas of need are. That way we can focus our high-level design on these areas. And so with that, we created a high-level design, which is middle mile focused, with reaching those students in need who do not have internet, as well as connecting the city facilities to get off the lease lines. And in doing that, through a very high level estimation, the materials and labor cost came out to just under $10 million. And this includes all of the lines shown here on the map, and it includes opportunities for regional connectivity. And we wanted to highlight the blue line in the center of the city because through a ring topology, this creates redundancy and is essentially just a safety net for the network. And in doing this, in times of failure, it'll still remain active.
I just want to add here. So there is existing infrastructure in many of these areas. So that number amount and the total number of linear feet that you see proposed, some of that is already existing. So there can be partnership with providers that are already in the area to either not lease lines up for the, okay, so the blue part is what we would be looking at potentially for the municipal owned ring. That's really, that, as Jacob just said, it's critical for redundancy and overall security. And if that's an option the city wanted to move forward with, then that would be focusing on that blue area. But as you extend out into the laterals, the green and the red, those are the middle mile aspects that are critical to bring that last mile connectivity to get out to the residents where there isn't current levels of service. But you can see where there is the orange around the routes, there is some level of existing infrastructure. So I just wanted to make it clear that that number amount is related to if you were to build all of this, and there is the opportunity for potential partnership on parts of these that wouldn't need to be included in potential future funding or a need to be paid for by the city.
And so this map right here is just a combination of the previous two, showing the impact that our high-level design would have on these underserved areas or the lower income, and just how it'll have a greater impact on the city overall.
And so there is an unprecedented amount of funding, as I know you all are aware, coming through the infrastructure bill. And we would love to see as much of that funding coming to City of Harlingen and the Valley in general. These are just 3 of several different grant programs that are being funded through, as I said earlier, NTIA, you can see for the middle mile, and the digital equity program. And those are, well, the middle mile is directly to the federal government, while the second 2, the Capital Projects Fund and the Digital Equity Fund, would be applied to through the state. So the state really plays a large role in determining how those funds will be distributed over time. But all of these are potential funding sources for different parts. The first 2 could fund the actual infrastructure, so that $10 million amount that we just showed you as a potential high figure for building out a middle mile network across the city. Those first 2 could be eligible programs for that. While the third one, is more for addressing what we saw as an added need or a key component to the need here in Harlingen, which is the digital equity. And so that could be funding digital literacy programs or other programs around increasing the capacity and the technology ability within communities. That, again, is controlled by the state. They did just submit their planning grant last week, and they'll know whether or not they were fully funded for that by the feds at the end of September. And then from there, we'll be looking for input from local communities on how to spend that money fully. So a lot of moving parts, but there is definitely funding out there to support the implementation. And so that goes into the overall next steps, which is to further refine this high-level design in understanding the partnership ability, depending on what options the city would want to move forward with in regards to ownership or public-private partnership, and then applying for some of those various funds depending on which parts you want to move forward with, and moving on from there. Getting connectivity across the city is the ultimate goal. And from there, we'll take questions.
I have a series of questions, if I may.
Of course.
So there's state and federal money available, and let's round up and call it $10 million. What's the probability that we get $10 million and it doesn't cost the city, the taxpayers, anything?
So it's a great question. I'd love to tell you it's a high probability, but an important point to the middle mile application is it does require a 30% match. So it is not fully funded. It's not, you can't apply for the full 10. Now, depending on the partnership model you go under, some of that money should come from a provider, so they're not getting a network for free. But if the city's looking to do fully municipal owned, then that, you'd be needing to look for that 30%. So it does depend on those conversations around the business model in order to understand what you'd be applying for fully, but there is going to be match requirement.
Okay. So this is to lay fiber along these blue lines, green lines, orange lines, etc. But it would still cost the consumer sitting at their house, wherever on the map. They would have to get a internet provider and pay for that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
But you're telling me that there are places in the city that have no fiber cable?
Yes.
I had no clue.
Yes.
Okay. So it would still be up to the individual citizen to plug in one way or another.
And it would be up to who the providers are that are in the community, and what, if there's an incentive structure through investing in this middle mile, that helps reduce the cost of the provider coming in to provide that last mile service, because that's it. If they have to, so if there's no real solid infrastructure here, then they have to incorporate all of this into their costs in order to then get into the community. So by this being funded, it incentivizes and kind of brings down that total dollar amount they'd be needing to invest and then recoup in profit in order to make up that downfall. So it's a upfront investment.
Okay. And so just to clarify, so if there's fiber down this street and that street, this and that street are not included. It's the streets, the neighborhoods, the areas of city that have no fiber to them.
Well, I think it's...
Do I understand that?
Well, part of the problem too is that not every provider does fiber directly to the home. So a lot of providers use existing copper, what's already in the ground, and they build fiber on top of that. And using the copper that's already going into the household through coaxial cable, it's in a way to say that they're doing fiber, but the internet you're receiving has that hybrid connection with the coax. So it is not direct fiber to the home.
And the coax would be way slower than advertised fiber speeds.
For the download speeds, it's adequate. It can still get up to a gig in download speeds, but the problem is the upload speeds. What fiber can do is symmetric, meaning the download and the upload will both be the same. So what we're recommending almost everywhere is to have a minimum of 100 download and upload. Coax cannot do that.
Right.
They can do 130 maybe max. So what fiber does is it's a future-proof solution that allows the symmetric speeds and the ability to scale as needed in the future.
And so would all these projects, this project, would it provide fiber from the street to the house? Or if the internet company wanted to connect with coax, that's all they have to do?
So it depends. It depends on how the city wanted to move forward with it. This is what we're showing here, the first step. Going into the homes is a few steps later, and that all depends on who you have as a partner, how you want to fund all of it. Those next steps are critical to receiving fiber to the home or whatever the option is to the home. What we're saying is where we see the need of the city connecting their facilities as well as the students that don't have internet because of whether it's affordability or just a lack of access, we think this is the best step to move towards fixing that. But it's the first step.
And so, Gabe, do we have $1 million, $3 million?
No, sir, we do not. This study itself just shows us where the needs are. If we approve the report tonight, then we could use that to actually start to seek grants. One of the things that's going to be required for funding in the future, especially if it's from some sort of infrastructure funding or future ARPA funding, is that they're going to need a study in place to apply for any funding. So this is what this helps us with, gets us the study that we need to even apply for those funds. So this doesn't actually commit us to anything or show how we're going to get final internet into the home. It just says where the needs are right now.
Just to add on to that, Gabe made a really good point that, so the public engagement is a component to any of the funding sources. So as he just said, just to reiterate, by doing that, it's checking a box for those grant applications, and you've done that.
So we're putting a foot in the door.
Just a question. On the first slide, you use a Valley Morning Star article that talks about 34.4% lack broadband connection. That doesn't mean that they don't have the access to broadband. It just doesn't mean, it means that they just haven't gotten a subscription to broadband.
And that's we're using the word adoption, but
Okay,
that's that
perfect.
same issue, yeah.
Thank you. So essentially, this is a cost issue, it's not an infrastructure issue, it's a cost issue.
It is in a lot of places. I mean, there is some areas that it's an infrastructure issue, but it's if the cost for what you're getting is not feasible or valuable, then it's an issue. And another key point that isn't on here, but it is in the study, is a discussion of the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP. And so that is something that we would encourage through potentially a digital literacy campaign to encourage residents to apply for and get that $30 a month rebate if they qualify based on low to moderate income qualifications. They can receive a $30 direct rebate every month off their internet bill. You would have to ensure that your internet service provider participates, but many of them at this point are participating because it's a direct subsidy back from the federal government.
And based off of those companies you showed earlier, Spectrum, AT&T and all that, their entry-level internet package, how much is it more or less? Excuse me.
Oh, we might know that.
Would
but
the
I don't know that.
$30 cover that?
I don't think that, so there is a list in the study of all of the ones who provide a $30, therefore free amount. Those providers are not on that list, but it is probably much closer to it where it reduces that cost significantly, but I couldn't tell you the exact amount.
We had a meeting with FAR today and a few other cities and the Valley Legacy Foundation, and when we asked City of FAR what they charge for their service, they charge $40 is their minimum. 25. I'm sorry, 25.
So that $30
would cover that, yes.
Okay.
So FAR, if you sign up with this in the city of FAR, you get your internet from the city of FAR?
So, yeah, they're doing a very different model, very innovative in terms of being fully municipal owned. So the way your water and electricity can be, it's a fully owned municipal utility.
Okay, so we're not looking at that model.
No, but it's interesting that they're providing this option with the intention of understanding that there's this $30 a month rebate, and they wanted to be able to, for folks that qualify, to be able to provide internet at that cost, at no cost.
Over 10 years, how much would it cost to maintain such if we were to go the full kit and caboodle, get the whole package?
We haven't done that comparison yet. We're just focusing on getting the study done, which kind of shows where the needs are. That's part of the next step, is figuring out what approach we want to take and how much it's going to cost us.
All right. I'll make the motion to approve the report.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? You already made it. Second?
I'll second it. Thank you very much.
All votes in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Okay, item number 5, consideration and possible action to reject all bids received under invitation to bid number 2022-15, Lozano Plaza Restroom Project.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, City Commission. We went out for bid in June. We advertised in the Valley Morning Star on the 12th of June and the 19th. We also conducted a pre-bid meeting on June 22nd. We only received one bid in the amount of $449,000. That was from Peacock Construction. And our budget for this project was $300,000. And so staff's recommending that we reject the bid, the single bid that we received for this project.
Any discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to approve it, to reject?
I'll
the
make a
bid?
motion to reject the bid.
I second that.
All votes in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes, or fails, or passes. Okay, now to item 6, consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to award task orders under RFQ 2021-14, professional engineering services for the city of Harlingen, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 drainage improvement projects to 3 of 9 previously selected firms.
Good evening, Commission. This is Luis Vargas, City Engineer. On June last year, we got an RFQ, and we selected 9 companies under the RFQ. Based on the qualifications, we selected 9 that had an average of 90 or more in their score. And of those 9 firms, 3 have provided us with proposals. One being for the System 100, and we're calling it Ed Carey and Business 77 drainage system. The second one is Civil Systems Engineering. That's System 023, and we're calling it Pickens Street drainage system. The other one is Guzman and Munoz Engineering, and that would be System 122, and that we're calling it Jacaranda Storm Sewer System Project. There's 3 firms that are working already with drainage projects. One of them is Cobb Fenley. That one's Jackson and C construction project. I'll talk in the next item. Ted C has another project, which is Jefferson and Hick Hill. And then the third one was Half. In the agenda item there should read Half Associates. That one has a Lozano Street detention drainage project. So in future agenda items, we'll request approval for the other 3 companies that they're preparing proposals for the city. And staff recommends approval.
Any discussion?
Oh, yes. Excuse me. In going through these numbers here, I see that Guzman and Munoz have like 8%. Okay. You have Civil Systems Engineer at 11%. And then you have Consor Engineering at 26% above. Why is that?
Normally, engineering firms charge 8 to 12% based on the construction estimate. Now, these estimates are more accurate for Civil Systems Engineering and Guzman and Munoz, but the construction estimate for Ed Carey is, in my opinion, way under. So that would need to be corrected to a higher estimate. Taking just 10% of the design cost, I would estimate it at $7 million for the construction of the project. If you look at the complexity and the size of the project and compare to the other, say, Pickens Street drainage system, it's almost twice the size. And if you look at the proposal on Consor Engineers, the production plan is about 300. That's.
I gotta ask, where's Consor Engineering?
I believe their headquarters are in McAllen, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Did I get that right? Its headquarters is in Houston, McAllen office. We have a McAllen office just in the Chase Tower in McAllen, 10th and Business 83.
And sorry, I failed to introduce Mr. Javier Martinez. He's the project manager for this project.
See, okay, because there's a set fee of 20,000, and when I go through it, they're going to be flying in out of Houston, and they're going to drive, and we're going to be hit with $20,000 worth of what do you refer to it as
Other direct expenses?
Yes.
Um,
And there's,
We-
the other question that I have is, when I compare, I'm gonna, because I've looked through this a little bit, Consort doesn't have any task hours. How long does it take to complete a task? They just give us numbers.
Right. We could ask for a breakdown of the hours and negotiate.
Yeah, please. And I also see public outreach, there's a lump sum of 59,000. Virtual monthly construction meetings are gonna give us 12. And also monthly construction communication systems, 12. Are they gonna be meeting with us constantly?
Well, I foresee maybe a year taking for the design of the project. Being 12, I'm assuming it's a monthly
Yeah.
meeting throughout the year.
See, this is troubling to me. When we did the RFQs and we all decided back in September 1, the rankings, you believe it or not, I spent some time last night. This is what we came across as far as the evaluator scoring. Okay? We had half at 96.5, Cobb Finley and Associates at 94.5, Tesley at 93.5. Number 4 was Civil Systems Engineering, 92. And then you have, at number 5, you have Art Rodriguez Engineering at 91.3, Sames at 90.8, SWG Engineering at 90.3. You skipped. You didn't get any quotes from these three?
We're getting them. They're in the process of getting the proposal to us. All of the 9 companies have been given, we've requested proposals from all 9. We're just presenting 3 for now.
Okay, so what are we gonna vote for? Because if, the way I look at it, unless I'm wrong, please correct me. If you haven't received any quotes from the other 3, I'm referring to R. Rodriguez, Sames, and SWG, why do we have Consor Engineering on this here? Because they're a little bit on the steep side. I see it at 26%, you're saying it's justified, but yeah, I wonder. If everything is in the neighborhood of 8 to 12, here's something else you might not be aware of. I took a poll, I talked to 5 different people, okay? 4 were engineers, 1 was a former city manager, okay? 4 of them said 8 to 12 is the norm on the fee.
Okay, perfect.
All right? 1 individual said 12 to 18 out of these 5. Okay? So I still don't get it, because this engineering here that we're going to do the work on, it's not SpaceX type of engineering that we're requiring. So getting back to what is it that we're going to vote for? I can see, I don't have an issue with civil systems engineering. That's within the 8 to 12 range. Guzman, that's at 8%. I mean, no problem there. But I definitely want to see the quotes for System 100.
Correct.
Commissioner,
That's a good chunk of change there.
may I suggest that we approve CSI and Guzman and then not take any action on this particular one until staff can go back and relook at the numbers and then come back to you with any other possible revisions to what they're quoting? Maybe possibly more clarification on the rates?
That would be fine, because God dang it, I'm looking at the fact that in another item or two, I have our chief of police that's gonna be asking for funds, and we can't be paying a premium for this.
I think if we do that, we might be able to get CSE and Guzman starting on the work and then come back later with Consor see what we can actually negotiate with them regarding the rates?
Yeah. Keep in mind, number 5, R. Gutierrez, Sames, and SWG did not submit a quote. And I find it hard to believe that these were skipped, or they did not submit a quote.
We are waiting for that quote.
You're waiting for that quote.
And we actually met with SWG to look at the design options already, but they're working on the proposal. Sames is as well, and which one's the other one?
Gutierrez?
Correct.
Okay.
So did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, nobody had, you have a question? Sure.
You ran.
So what
See,
motion
there's-
do you want to make?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I want to make sure I don't have any other.
Did you want to speak, sir?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Go ahead. Yes, please.
So, good evening. My name's Javier Martinez, the office lead here in the McAllen office for Consor Engineers. Consor Engineers is, headquarters is in Houston. We have 7 offices throughout Texas. Just wanted to give a little bit of information on just the price estimate or the cost estimate for this. I did not provide one to Mr. Vargas. He did ask for one of them. I did provide it, so it didn't get to be placed on the agenda, which was a breakdown. I can provide this information to all of you. Now, I did want to mention that, as Mr. Vargas was mentioning with System 100. System 100 is approximately a 1 mile, 1.5 miles. What we have here in Pickens, if we compare both of them, Pickens is about just approximately the length of improvements that's going to happen on the system is about half a mile. Now, if we look at several of the services that are going to be provided for 100 is very different than Pickens Street. Pickens Street is a community, it's a neighborhood area. System 100 is on a state roadway. State roadway being Ed Carey, it's a loop of 499. It's very completely different. And when I mean it's different, is the communication, the coordination is very different. One is with the city. The System 100 is with the city, with TxDOT, and then you're dealing with, as well, with environmental. You're dealing with Union Pacific Railroad. There is a Union Pacific crossing on Ed Carey there. So the System 100 runs through the railroad system. So there's a lot of communication in that breakdown. So the services is not only just the design aspect. Part of our estimate, we're also including the surveying. Surveying, we do have a subconsultant, which we had on our proposal. They're here locally, which is a moorland surveying. And some of that chunk that you're talking about is part of surveying as well. So it does mention it on one of the breakdowns that was provided at the time. The other breakdown kind of is just more in details as far as man hours and so forth. What we have for planned production is roughly 336. Again, we're talking about 1.5 miles. If we compare it to another one, I believe it's 144, which is half a mile. This one's 3 times. If we do the multiplication on those, this would be actually 400. We're actually low on the planned production. Now, the other services that we are providing, part of this is the utility and railroad coordination. We believe that there is going to be quite a bit of utility conflicts, even though we're replacing the existing covert system. There's going to be utility conflicts and the railroad coordination. Railroad coordination takes about a year long with the communication to get the permits for the railroad. And we're going to be dealing with Union Pacific here. Did want to mention that part of this service is that we're also having here is public outreach. We're dealing with a very congested area or complex area where we're working with 6 lanes, travel lanes with a median with a left turn, continuous left turn lane, sidewalks, everything with an existing right-of-way. It's very, there's no room for widening on this roadway, right? And that's something that we're not it's not part of this scope of work. But with that, we do have, there's a lot of commercial areas. You've got a hospital on Ed Carey. There's going to be a lot of coordination done with the residents and commercial businesses. We're also providing services for procurement services, construction phase services. And so as far as the other direct expense, we did have their other direct expense. Nobody, I would say, all the design, everything would be in-house here in the McAllen office. We do have a public involvement personnel that is not here locally.
So may I repeat back to you what I understood? So this is a 1.5 mile long project.
That is correct.
The railroad, Abraham Lincoln gave the railroads all the power in the country. And it will be difficult to deal with them because their line has to be perfect so no cars ever tip over. Right? And then this is all commercial, hospital, businesses, clinics, other medical facilities. So this just isn't dig a ditch on the side of a country road, but this is complex engineering. Is that what I understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How long do you all anticipate taking?
Taking as far as...
Once you start breaking ground. I use Ed Carey, that's why
Okay.
I'm
So-
invested
so-
interest in
So typically,
avoiding traffic.
typically when it's a railroad, they take an average. I'm a former TxDOT now I'm with Consor. So I dealt with a lot of railroad communications. I worked on State Highway, it's the Boca Chica State Highway 48. That's ranked one of the 50 out of 100 most congested roadways in the state of Texas. We dealt with railroad. So railroad, other projects here in Cameron County as well in Olmito, Texas. I was a project manager for it as well. So part of the length in getting permits with Union Pacific, it mentions about 6 months average time, but that's not the case that I've seen. Typically they take about 8 months to a year before getting that approval. So that kind of just the same amount of time that it would take for plan development to get all the plan development in place, even sooner than typically it would take about 8 months to get 100% set of plans. But that would leave it for construction, giving it 2 months time frame before going out for bids, just in time getting that permit in place for breaking ground on construction.
So, okay, and let's go this way. From you guys being given the green light to y'all being complete, how long is that gonna take?
Once we get green light, that we can always talk with the city as how much, when is the deadline for it, whether it's 6 months, 8 months. I worked on several projects, typically me and my team. That team, I do have it here in Consor. We can get it done within 6 months, 8 months time frame. It's sooner if need to. But as far as the permit goes, permit does take, that's really out of our hands.
So you're looking at 18 months?
No.
12 months for the design, permits, all that, and then another 6 months to do the actual work?
No. It will be all running concurrent. We'll work first with the Union Pacific, start submitting all the permits, all the design requirements that they need as we're working to get the plan production. So in total time, it's no more than the 8 to 12 months that I mentioned. If sooner could be 6 months, we can get it to you in 6 months.
So you can do other parts of this project while waiting for Union Pacific?
That is correct.
Got it.
That is correct. So again, I do have this. I can present this to.
To be honest with you, what I'm looking at now, and this was the number one question, what happened on number 5, 6, and 7? Since I've just been told by Mr. Vargas that they have been contacted and we're waiting for their proposals, their quotes, I would like to wait for their quotes and see where we stand. Hopefully it won't take a month. Hopefully it'll take, our next meeting we'll have an answer. And that's, That's going, I see Mr. Cook moving up here, so what do we have?
I'm sorry. Craig Cook, Assistant City Manager. Sir, those three proposals are on three entirely different projects. We're not comparing quotes or proposals.
But I'm looking at the big quote. I don't have an issue with civil systems engineer that, what is it, systems 23, nor the systems 122. That's not I don't have an issue with those.
Yeah.
The one that I have an issue with is the system 100.
I understand that. But the three proposals we're waiting on are for other work.
Other work. So they're not for this here.
No, you never compete design work. You always negotiate design work.
So once again, were these people with Otto Rodriguez, Sames, and SWG, were they contacted in reference to this way before?
No, they were not.
Why?
Each designer is given a project, a system, and asked for a proposal to design that system. And if we need to, we negotiate the fee to design that system's solution.
What were they given?
As Luis said earlier, Cobb Finley, I don't want to mess this up. Cobb Finley did
You got half?
Jackson and
half?
C Street, which is a very small job, $170,000. It's the next agenda item for construction.
And I have a question on that one too, but I'll wait till we get to that one.
And Ted C. is designing Hick Hill Culvert. So they're entirely different projects.
So what's Art Rodriguez working on, Sames and SWG on? What are they working on?
Other systems. I don't know.
You don't know which ones?
Well, no, I don't.
Luis?
Sure. So from the three companies that haven't submitted the proposals, we have Sames Incorporated working on Sunchase and Saval Palm drainage improvements. Those would be systems 252 and 204. Why 2? Because they're too small, so 2 make 1, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And R. Gutierrez is working on Fair Park Boulevard storm sewer system improvements. That would be system 224.
Which is south of the police station, I think.
Correct, yes, south of the police station. Now, the other one is SWG Engineering. They're working on Adams Crossing drainage improvements, and that would be system 244.
This Adams Crossing, is this with a railroad?
No. We call it Adams Crossing because it's in the Adams Crossing subdivision.
Off of 13th Street.
Correct.
Hey, Craig, just so we make sure we're all on the same page, and just to clear the air, could you give us an overview, you or Luis, an overview of the whole process? So you guys go out, you get 9 companies.
I can. We went out for the RFQ back last year and asked for qualification packages throughout the engineering community for drainage projects. And if memory serves, we got 11 proposals. And actually, in that September meeting, the staff recommendation was only to award the first 3, the highest scoring 3, and we would give them the 3 highest priority projects to design. The commission said no, we would go ahead and award what's called a master services agreement to anyone who scored 90 or above. And so that only kicked out the bottom 2, the 10th and 11th scoring firms. And so then there was a process of awarding the master service agreement, which is just an agreement to terms and conditions, has nothing to do with price. It's just that here's how we're going to contract with you, and we did that 9 times. And then the first three projects that were that were prioritized, Jackson and C and the other two, were given to those three firms. We received their proposals, and I think each of the three was an individual agenda item from late in the year to early this. And Hick Hill Culvert, for example, Luis is reviewing the 60% design right now.
Mhm.
So those three got their work, got their assignment, gave us a proposal, got a contract, a task order. These three were next in line, and we were just trying to be efficient with doing it all as one agenda item to get these three started.
Mhm.
And then the three that we're waiting on are the 7th, 8th, and 9th awardee.
And how did each company, from my understanding, please, get an assignment? So did they
That's
pick out of a hat? Or?
It's entirely the city engineer's prerogative based on what he reads in the quals package. Maybe they've designed something similar in the past. It's not very scientific. It's because all of the 9 firms scored a 90 or above. Mm-hmm. So we're confident in their capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then as it comes down to price and the commissioner's concerns, they give you a price, and then do you all negotiate it down to what you think is reasonable?
We do. And
could you walk us through that?
companies differ in the amount of detail they give and the format of their proposals. I'll tell you that. Some will take Luis's email with kind of a bulletized scope, and they'll write you a scope of work that's 10 pages long of what they're going to do. Some don't do that. Some firms don't do that. So you use this 8 to 12% rule of thumb. You know whether the job is simple or complex, and so it's a judgment call by the city engineer of accepting a proposal, which we did in all 3 cases, and the 3 cases before, as I recall. But we can certainly negotiate hours. We really can't negotiate rates because those are typically established within the firm. But we can negotiate to say, well, we think that task is going to take 80 hours, not 95.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, arm wrestle for a while, and we come up with a quantity of hours. And then it's just math after that.
And you mentioned the 8 to 12%, right, that we've been talking. What is that?
It's a percentage of the construction cost, of what is considered to be fair and reasonable for design work.
Okay, so the 26% is
high, but as both gentlemen have, I think, argued, there's reasons for that. But we'd be happy to sit down with them again, and as the city manager suggested, if you want to approve the 2 and table the 3rd, we can do that, and maybe we'll bring the 3rd one we'll bring consors back, and we will have received 1, 2, or the other 3 that we're still waiting on.
Please.
But
Thank you so
but
much.
again, they're not bidding. This is not a bid on the same work like in a construction job.
Let's go ahead and table this one for now and figure this one out. So I'll make a motion that we table Consor Engineering and go ahead and accept Civil System Engineer and Guzman and Munoz Engineering for now.
Sorry. Craig and Luis, do y'all think this is a good deal?
I do, because of the complexities.
Luis?
Of course.
I'm calling you the carpet, my friend.
Now it's going to make the negotiations awfully hard. Well, you said to the commission.
I can negotiate for him, that's not a problem.
we can negotiate some hours. We certainly can.
Okay. Luis?
Actually, if I may, there may be a service in their tasks that we don't need. And of course, that would be a line at. We didn't notice that when we reviewed it, but a second set of eyes may say, well, we don't need, this task, and line that value out.
Yes, I think it's a fair deal. Again, based on the complexity of the project, and not only that, all the coordination as Mr. Javier from Consort explained. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
It's to table consort, and
Sorry?
award, the table consort and award the other two.
Oh, yes, you want table consort? Yes, I have a motion to table the consort.
Except the other two.
Except for the other two. Do I have a second? No second, motion fails. Do I have another motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept item number 6 here, to authorize the city manager to award the task orders under RFQ 2021-14 Professional Engineering Services for the City of Harlingen American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA of 2021 drainage improvement projects to 3 of the previously selected firms.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'd like to amend that just shortly. I agree with the motion, Mike. I just want to give Gabe and engineering a little leverage to negotiate the best deal they think they can, and then seal it down from there.
No, but that's understood.
Okay. Is that understood?
Well, the contract that you have before you is a 26%. As long as you understand that I'd like to negotiate some of that down.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
If you could restate your motion to incorporate that.
Perfect.
Authorize the city manager to negotiate.
Okay, can I change my motion?
Yes, you can, by
Okay, on item number 6, to authorize the city manager to renegotiate where feasible and possible, and award the task orders under 2021-14 Professional Engineering Services.
I second that.
Okay. All votes in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All votes opposed?
Nay.
Item passes.
Thank you.
We need three.
No, you need 3 votes to pass.
We need 3 votes. Isn't that a quorum right there? They got 3?
Do we have 3? I thought I heard a nay.
It was 2-1.
It's 2-1, but isn't
Two-
that a quorum,
two
and
to-
then 2, the majority of the 3?
No, you need 3 affirmative votes to pass.
Because you're the fourth.
Oh, so I need a,
No, you can't vote.
You can't vote
I
because
know I
you're
can't
mayor pro
vote, yeah.
tem. So we have a 2-1 vote. You need 3 votes to pass the measure.
so the motion
So it
fails.
doesn't
So the motion
pass.
fails, yes.
Okay, motion fails.
Quick question, so why do we need 3 affirmatives?
Because the charter says so.
Because
Because the charter says so.
Okay, so in a situation like this, it has to be 3-0 on the vote?
It has to be 3, yes, it would have to be 3-0.
On everything that's here?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, not on motions. On motions, a simple majority of who's ever present is sufficient. But on resolutions, contracts, ordinances, yes.
Okay.
So then, So now
Learn
that it-
something new.
so now that it failed, can we table it, or that's it?
No.
Well, how do we go back to this? Why don't we, Commissioner Morales, we all agree on the other 2, correct? So let's push those through, and then we come back with consort, like Commissioner Fuentes says, Morales says.
Yeah, that one.
That's what we can approve and just push it through now, okay?
Okay. Make a motion.
Can we vote again?
Yes.
Okay.
I need a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept number 1 and number 2 to do the engineering projects, and with the exception of...
That'd be 2 and 3, right?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Pickens
Make a
and-
motion to accept 2 and 3 and have Gabe negotiate with them and for items number 2 and 3 in this package. And we will revisit item number 1 at a later date.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, all votes in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes.
Thank you.
Okay, on to number 7, consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to award a construction contract with RBM Contractors LLC for the Jackson and C Drainage Improvement Project, which was designed by Cobb Fenley and Associates under RFQ 2021-14 for the City of Harlingen American Rescue Plan Act.
Yes, thank you. So this one is one of those other projects, drainage projects, that was given to Cobb Fenley. This item is for the construction contract, which we did get bids and prices. And this is to mitigate the flooding in the Jackson and C intersection. We're installing 4 stormwater inlets. There's stormwater lines that will be installed, 24-inch, 36-inch lines. We're restoring the pavement. We had an estimated construction cost of $163,000. The lowest bid is from RBM Contractors with $179,000. City recommends the selection and award of construction contract to RBM, and we've notified the business owners in the intersection, and we're doing everything we can that can be done to reduce traffic congestion in the area for the construction phase. Open for questions.
Any discussion?
Yes. Does this meet a 25 or a 50-year storm once it's done, completed? See, here's the thing. I've been through this area, okay? And you and I can walk through it tomorrow afternoon and see the water lines inside the gym that's there, okay? I do not recall if it's 2 feet or 3 feet high inside the business, okay? So one, if we're gonna do the work there, okay, I wanna make sure that, thank God, we spend it and it gets resolved, okay? That's one. 2, and I don't understand why, who selected our RBM Tier 1 and Chlora equipment to do the bidding on that? I thought it was gonna be Cobb and Finley, that they sublease the work?
Okay, let me go back for a bit. So Cobb Fenley is the engineer that designed this project. They were part of the ARPA companies, number 1 or 2 with that list. So they are the designers for this project. Now, RBM, Tier 1, and Chlor are 3 contractors that bid on the design. And those are the bids there. I'm sorry, bid on the construction project. Did that answer your question?
I believe so.
Yeah, we go out for bids, and we received 3 bids, these being them.
And this is what you got, okay.
Correct.
Now, can we verify it, once the work is done, it can meet a 25, better yet, I think, a 50-year storm? See, this area in 2008, 2018, 2019 got flooded severely, okay? And that's why I said, you and I can go out there tomorrow afternoon, once the gym is open, and you can see the water lines, and I want to prevent that. That used to be my district, now it's Mr. Lopez. And I want to make sure that, thank God, they don't come back to bite me.
What I could tell you is that this project will increase the size of the lines, will add volume, will increase the capacity of the system. I believe the system was previously designed to either 5 or 10 year. So by increasing the size, we'll get at least 25-year design capacity.
25. You think? I'm pressing you because, thank God, I've gotten the calls.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've gotten the calls, and like I told Mr. Gonzalez and the other former assistant city manager, I'll take the heat as long as I can, but once I can't take it, I'm gonna kick it up. And this is a perfect opportunity where work is gonna be done that we cannot afford to just sit back and say, oh, we're gonna go through the motions. We do the work and all of a sudden, oops, I forgot this. We can't
Right.
do that.
So,
We're gonna get hammered, so I wanna, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I wanna avoid the backlash on this.
right, if we're doing it, we have to do it right, you know?
Of course.
Which
So
I completely
just-
agree.
I just wanna verify that we have, you know, I think we decided it was gonna be a 50-year storm, so let's confirm and verify it can do a 50 or the 25.
So I know that the engineer struggled to accommodate the size of the pipes there. For example, well, there's an exhibit that you could take a look at in the packet. The 24-inch line on the North Street in the south side, we're adding a 24-inch line there, but it's tight. The engineer wanted to keep an 18, but we pushed for 24. With, you know, it's just something to bear in mind that there's other utilities in the way that could prevent us from upsizing the storm lines too much.
What utilities?
Water, you got wastewater, it's downtown, gas probably. In downtown, usually there's, by experience, you find mystery lines at times. You know, it's unforeseen utilities. We call it mystery lines because they weren't in the records, and it's the way it happens sometimes in downtown. But for the known utilities right now, it was difficult to fit that 24-inch on the south side of North Street. I'm sorry, North Sea Street, yes.
So as is, we may still hit misery lines.
I'm sorry?
As is, we may still hit misery lines.
As is, I hope not.
Because we don't know, right? Like,
Correct, yes.
Because they're not on the records.
Correct, but there is one water line going through there. This is, in the exhibit, there's an existing 8-inch water line running north to south, which could be either rerouted or left in place and then keep that 24-inch.
There's no doubt that this is going to be an improvement, though, correct? Obviously.
Beg your pardon?
Like what we're doing, what we're approving right here, this is going to be improvement for the area, no doubt.
No doubt.
Okay. And I believe the 25 and 50 year, which I know because you and I worked on that together, that's more for subdivisions, like for subdivisions that are being developed. But I think this would be, I think this is an improvement, and I know you get some of the calls, but I think you could respond to these residents and tell them like, look, we just installed a 24-inch pipe, it's going to improve the drainage, and I think that's what they want. They want progress, knowing that things are going to get better. And I think this is
agree
part
with
of it.
you. Now, just north of Jackson, can't think of the name of the street, Monroe or Madison, okay? You have a residential area, okay? And from where they're at, the water goes straight to Jackson. And once you see that part of the street, I don't know if you've been through there, you have the apex of the street is higher than the sidewalk. Okay? So you have the street like this, all right? But the sidewalk is lower than the apex, the top of the street, okay? So the water's just gonna keep on rising, and that's why this particular gym and those businesses have really been underwater for quite some time. Okay, we've been lucky, or they've been lucky, but sooner or later, we're gonna get, which, knock on wood, we don't want any hurricanes, okay? Not yet. We were not prepared for them.
But he's already been telling us, though, that right now we're pushing it with just the 18, right? So there's not much improvement, or not much more larger that we can go, correct?
24.
I mean, I'm sorry, the 24, yes.
Right.
So we're pushing with the 24, so.
Correct.
In order to get, the more improvement that by meeting that we probably would not be possible, correct?
That is correct.
So,
Well, just in this spot, in the C Street south side, we're adding a 36-inch line where there's more space in the exhibit, in the packet. You see there in the, I guess, left.
There's gonna be a choke.
West side of the Jackson Avenue, we're adding a 36-inch line, but there's space for that one.
Based off the conversations I've had with Commissioner Bettis and conversations I've had with constituents, there's a lot of energy about promoting downtown, right? And they want to bring Jackson Square, the market days and all that. That's right behind Megamorphosis, this intersection right by Olympus Gym.
Correct.
And so my fear, and going with Commissioner Morales' point of view, is that I don't want to not do this the right way, and then in 10 years we're going to have to rip it up again because the flooding's still there. Olympus Gym, I'm 35 years old. Olympus Gym's been flooding since I was a freshman in high school, right? Probably even before then. And so is there a way to go, I don't know, maybe it's going to cost more money, but to go to the 36 inches?
I could look into that.
Because also, I think, and Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Harlingen Waterworks is going to be upgrading or laying down concrete there at their facility right on the other side of the railroad tracks, right? In their yard. And so my fear with that is because now you don't have as much permeable ground, you're going to start having more water, and so that system may have more issues. This area floods really bad, right? Like right a little south of the railroad track, and then that whole neighborhood, Fair Park, Monroe, the police station in the back. And so flooding is not an area that I don't mind throwing more money at, or not money, but being a little more aggressive with, because the city's going to grow. We're going to get the benefit from it.
But,
Right.
but as he's explained, physics gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's mystery pipes, there's utilities and all that, so you only have so much space to make an improvement. 48-inch lines would be beautiful. I could crawl through them and walk through them, right? But that's not the solution here. We got to go with what works for right here and right now.
Normally, I would agree with you, Commissioner. Is there a way, can you bring this back to us?
I was just going to suggest, why don't we table this, give Luis a chance to look at it to see if there's a possibility of upsizing these lines even more, and if there is, he'll present that to the commission.
and how long would that take, Luis?
I'm thinking 2 weeks, a week at the earliest.
So
I'd have to get with actual Mr. Homer Bazan, who was here previously, present the the fiber optic presentation. He's the project manager for Cobb Fenley for this project. So I'll have to meet with him and see what we can do.
So you can have something for us for the next meeting?
Possibly.
Yes, but we already have bids for this design, right? So changing the game right now would probably mean,
Delay.
if we award this contract to RBM, we would probably need a change order, and it's more money involved too, if we do that too, right? If we add a bigger pipe. Now,
Things we can only change order 25%
right.
of the cost. So
Now, you have to take into account that there's other projects happening right now in design. There's one Jefferson project. The area that you mentioned in the police station, that northwest area of Harlingen, has conducted a study of that area. We've met with them.
Detention pond, right?
Correct.
Hold on.
There's
I'm sorry for the interruption here, but that area that you're discussing on, Lozano Street and the, Fair Park and the police station, have you met with Drainage District number 5?
Yes, sir.
So because they presented something a while back to me to where they can use the irrigation canal to put the water in there and haul it all the way down to the arroyo. And that would alleviate a lot. So what I also don't want to see is double work. You're trying to do one thing, and these people, drainage, the Cameron County District number 5, they're getting awarded some money. All right? Don't want to do double work here when we can solidify something and it'll be cost effective for everybody, especially us.
Yeah, I met a couple engineers that work for the Drainage District number 5, and I've been made aware that a drainage study is happening, which it's more advanced than our study that's happening. When I've been here 4 months, and I've been keeping track of our progress in the drainage master plan that will be ready in 2024. But I haven't, I just found out that the study was happening, maybe a few weeks ago. But there is the initiative, of course, of joining efforts with the drainage district to solve Harlingen's drainage issues. That is a certainty.
And I will repeat myself over the last year or so. You got to trust city management. You got to trust the engineers to do the right thing.
My biggest concern, guys, is that we have a project right here where we can, get it done. It's before us right here. We can get it done. We can directly improve the drainage in that area. And it's not just going to be just in that area, because remember, like Luis said, there's other projects that are in the works that are going to work with this project to help mitigate the draining in the entire area, like the detention pond Luis was mentioning, and then with this improvement right there. So what I feel is that you guys are trying to say is that we need to make a bigger pipe so we can solve all the drainage problems in that area. This is not going to do it, but this is going to help it, and along with all the other projects that are going around that area, together, they're going to alleviate the flooding in that area. If we hold off and all that other stuff, this could possibly not get done, or like Luis said, it could be more expensive, and we may not have the money for it and all that. So this is like literally right before us, where we can just approve it and then directly help the people of Harlingen in that area when it comes to drainage. Because I hate delay, and then when we delay, things get tossed to the side and they don't get done. So I urge you guys to think about it. That we have something where we can directly help the people of Harlingen with drainage right here.
Yeah, and if I may, very quickly, to fit that 24-inch pipe, the stormwater inlets had to be modified to have 2 openings instead of 3, so there was a change already done to fit that 24, and staff pushed for that 24 because an 18, in our opinion, wasn't going to do the right capacity. So we pushed for the 24. So in my opinion, it was difficult to fit a 24 there. It'd be more difficult to fit a 36.
And I just want to remember, none of us are engineers. We have an engineer that's telling us that this is a good idea. It's a good thing to do. And again, I find myself doing this more and more often, and it's kind of freaking me out. I agree with Mike that this is a good thing to do.
You're learning.
Okay, here's the thing. I'll go ahead and accept this, okay? I'm troubled with the fact that you're unsure as to how much of an improvement it will be, but I do realize the cost is gonna go through the roof if we delay much longer, all right? So I will go ahead and accept this, make a motion to accept this, this agenda item.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All votes in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd ask you to take up number 6 again, because actually I'd like to give the commission a revised legal opinion upon rereading that provision of the charter.
Okay, on advice of council, we're going to go back to item number 6.
Yeah. In reading the charter does contain a provision that requires 3 affirmative votes, but that provision is limited to ordinances and to resolutions. Motions can be made by simple majority. So I think there was a motion where you had a simple majority, and so that would pass by simple majority. And I apologize to the commission. I'm not used to only having 3 voting members and having 2 people absent, so.
So do we have to vote for that again? Or?
No, you've already voted.
So we get all 3 instead of the 2?
But that item would pass.
Okay.
Because on the simple majority. So I guess it would be.
Okay, so item number 6.
I think there was a.
Numbers 1, 2, and 3 passed, or just number 2 and 3?
Whatever the motion was at the time that you had.
The motion, the initial one where we did not
I think
have
it was
the 3 was
1,
all
2, and 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
That was my recollection.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3 passed. Okay.
Let me hear it again. I got my hearing aid in this ear, but not here. So on item number 6.
There was a motion for 1, 2, and 3 to pass. That motion had a simple majority.
Okay, and
So
with Gabe to negotiate.
Correct.
Negotiate. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So on to item number 8, consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager on behalf of the city of Harlingen to increase public safety communications officer pay by 20% in order to be competitive with other valley agencies. The proposed increase will put the Harlingen Police Department on par with the market average pay for telecommunications officers in the valley.
Chief,
Good evening.
before you start,
Mrs. Nelda Jaramillo had filed a citizen's communication. She is present though, but she would like for her comments to be read. And do you want me to read them?
Oh, please, please.
The comments read as follows. As a former dispatcher for this agency and with over 15 years experience with several agencies, I would like to add the following comment. While 20% is a great start in order to be more competitive and stop losing trained dispatchers to surrounding agencies, please consider future investigations to also add monetary compensation for education, for example, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, intermediate communicators, master telecommunicators, and trilingual dispatchers with experience in sign language. If budget is a problem, also look into the reserve dispatcher slots or part-time certified dispatcher positions, which will help stay within budget and allow for relief of the currently overworked staff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, City Commissioner, City Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to make the following presentation. I will be turning over the podium to Mr. Carlos Cantu, who is our Civilian Police Administrator and who also oversees the Communication Center.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Carlos Cantu. As the Assistant Chief said, I'm the Civilian Police Administrator responsible for oversight of the Communication Center. The Communication Center currently is authorized 19 communications officers, 3 dispatch supervisors, and a communications manager. Currently, I have 6 vacancies that I have not been able to fill. 3 of those, or 6 of those vacancies were newly created positions that were authorized last year for the purpose of helping with fire dispatch. And I have not been able to fill those positions because I don't have qualified candidates to fill. Currently, I have approximately 100 candidates that have applied for the position, and none of those candidates come with experience. The last 3 hires that I've made are 18 and 19-year-old individuals with no experience, but see it as an opportunity for them, because they don't have experience in any other field. As you can see here in the slide, since 2019, we've had a turnover of 19
communications officers, 11 alone in the last 2 years. The one that probably hurt us the most recently of January of this year was our dispatch supervisor with 25 years of experience who left, partly because of pay, but mostly because of his insurance coverage. Insurance was better for the agency. He went to go work for La Feria at a starting pay of $14 an hour, which is still better than what we offer our starting pay for our dispatchers now. And this chart here, it shows the study that I did of the agencies in the Valley and of other agencies of similar demographics as Harlingen, starting with Victoria here with the highest paying, going all the way down here to the very lowest, which is San Benito. But San Benito, in fact, even though they start at $12, at 6 months, they jump up to $14.50, and they surpass us at 6 months, and at 1 year they're at $15 for the anniversary. Currently, other than the cost of living increases that we've seen over the last couple of years, there has been no significant pay increase for dispatchers. So what I'm proposing is the average pay based on these numbers here came out to it was $16.52 an hour for the market study or the agencies that I surveyed. The 20% proposal would bring us up to a starting wage of $16.45 an hour, which would put us on par with the market wage. Just to point out, this Edinburgh here, this is, I actually have one dispatcher right now who is pending an application there, and they're offering him $17 an hour because he is certified. Right now, of the 13 dispatchers that I currently have on staff, 5 of them are trainees. So as trainees, they're not certified. They're still developing their skills, and they really can't be put on the floor by themselves. So they have to have a trainer next to them to be able to make sure that they're doing everything right. So that leaves me with eight qualified dispatchers to work a 24/7 operation. It's gotten to the point that our communications manager, Ms. Garza, has come in the middle of the night or early in the morning to help fill vacancies because people call in sick, of course, and we'll have certain situations where we can't be fully staffed. But that's the situation that we're facing at this point. And I feel that the 20% increase would go a long way into helping us draw a pool of applicants that we could hopefully fill those positions with. And the proposal is the 20%, and this is a simplified version of what we did. And bottom line is that if we were to do a 20% increase, this is the current pay just on salaries, and this is what's proposed for fiscal year 2023. So just for pay, we would be looking at $144,772 increase in the budget for pay. Now, when we take the benefits and include the benefits in there, that we're looking at an increase in the budget of $178,907. It does sound like a large number, but the communications center is a very important aspect of public safety. And to tell you that we're in crisis mode right now, I think is an understatement. We've gotten to the point that we have to basically triage calls, and that should not be happening. We have to decide which calls we put on hold, which calls we take. And when you call the 911 center, you expect somebody to take your call and somebody to talk to you and tell them what your issue is. And unfortunately, we're to the point we have to put calls on hold because we have to determine who comes first. If the proposal is something that it could be feasible,
staff recommends approval.
Excuse me, sir.
No, I was telling the commission we recommend approval.
Oh yes. So
excuse me, I'll be rude and interrupt also. Whose budget does this money come from?
It's a general fund.
Okay.
General fund.
We could afford this.
Yes, we have to afford this.
Great.
So we'll find a way to make it happen.
Adding to what you were saying, during, a couple months ago, Norma and I were block walking, and we ran into one of your dispatchers at one of the neighborhoods. And she came to the door talking to us, and you could tell she was very tired, and she was telling us some of the issues that you guys were dealing with, like how she was trying to train somebody, but then she had to get pulled away and all this other stuff. So I understand. I'm not gonna say I understand, but I know what you're talking about because I saw it in her face, the weariness in her face when she was like explaining to us the issues that they were having there at the dispatcher office. And I think this motion kind of stems from that because we first off want to thank you for all the work that you guys do. I mean, like you said, you're in crisis area right now, but the fact that you guys are still going up to work, and ma'am, that you show up and fill in some spots when necessary, that's highly commendable. And thank you for doing that. And I think this should have our full support because we need to reward these people that are staying with the city of Harlingen and performing this very valuable service to the community.
Thank you, sir.
I agree with you.
I would just add that if this is something that would be approved. I mean, this number here is for the coming fiscal year, but if the number could, I also included a number for the remainder of the fiscal year. So the price tag for funding August and September for the remainder of this year would be $39,000 approximately. So with that, sir, if you have any questions, and I'd also like to introduce some of my staff. I got Cindy Garza here, who's the communication manager, and Moises Cruz, Michael Huerta, Lupe Gonzalez. I got Joe De Leon.
Lupe just completed 30 years of service.
Wow.
For the city of
Thank you.
To say that I'm very proud of these people is an understatement. I'm glad that they're here to support this.
I'll make a motion for the city manager on behalf of the city of Harlingen to increase the public safety communications officer positions paid by 20%.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All votes in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. I have one question, actually not a question. Would you please come to us a little later on with a revised, if you need a, I don't want to be losing people to other cities, one. Secondly, please, this is, I can only ask, we need to take Mrs. Jaramillo's comments seriously, okay? We cannot be sitting on the sidelines because the city doesn't respond, but we need your input. Without your input, I don't want to say that other term, but we're sitting ducks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please take her remarks to heart, bring it to our attention, bring it to him, bring it to any of us.
Absolutely,
okay,
sir.
We will do what we can.
You have an open invitation to come and visit at any time, preferably during the afternoon shift when it's the busiest, so you can get a good first-hand view of what our personnel have to deal with.
I was going to say before you all started that this is actually one of the, and I've been doing this for years, one of the best presentations I've seen, at least the packet that you all put together with the information, explaining why you guys should get a pay increase and all that I've seen. So excellent job for the whole department.
Thank you.
Okay, so item passes, and thank you for your hard work. Okay, now to item number 9. Consideration and possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading of the City Council of the City of Harlingen, Texas, approving a negotiated resolution between the city and Texas Gas Service regarding the company's April 28, 2022 cost of service adjustment filing, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, adopting new tariffs to reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, and finding the rates to be set by the attached tariffs to be just and reasonable, providing for the recovery of the city's and TGS's reasonable and necessary rate case expenses, adopting a savings clause, determining that this ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, declaring an effective date, repealing any prior ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance, and requiring delivery of this ordinance and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the companies and the city's legal counsel.
A question for our lawyer. This is an ordinance, so this would have to pass 3-0?
Correct.
Okay.
You would need three votes.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, Texas Gas Service filed a COSA, cost of service adjustment, to increase our rates by $3.7 million. the South Texas group hired attorney Thomas Mercado and consultant Carnalipa to intervene on our behalf. They were actually able to look at the proposed adjustments and were able to negotiate a decrease of $967,000. So the total increase by Texas Gas Service will be $2.7 million. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance.
Okay, Commission have any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I would direct the city attorney to read the heading of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Harlingen, Texas, approving a negotiated resolution between the city and Texas Gas Service regarding the company's April 28, 2022 cost of service adjustment filing, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, adopting new tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, and finding the rates to be set by the attached tariffs to be just and reasonable, providing for the recovery of the city and TG's reasonable and necessary rate case expenses, adopting a savings clause, determining that this ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirement of the Texas Open Meetings Act, declaring an effective date, repealing any prior ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance, and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the companies and the city's legal counsel.
Okay, all votes in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Okay, now to number 10, consideration and possible action to adopt a resolution approving the one-year action plan for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 of the Community Development Block Grant Program and fiscal year of the Home Investment Partnership Program.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. For the record, Sandy Alvarez, Community Development Director. I'm here before you today to, on June the 15th, we came before you with a proposed budget from our Citizens Advisory Board, Community Development Advisory Board, I'm sorry. And several changes were made. We went ahead and published the proposed budget as it was approved by the Commission. We published it on June the 19th for a 30-day comment period. The comment period actually ended today at 5 o'clock. We are now coming before you to adopt the resolution so that we can go ahead and incorporate it for our budget for this coming fiscal year. We did also have a second public hearing with our board on June the 23rd, and nobody showed up for comments.
Okay.
And I believe you have the budget before you. It's a total of $1,298,059. Would you like for me to go ahead and read item per item the budget?
Do you guys need any of that?
I don't need that, I'm fine with it.
No, we're good, Sandy, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any discussion? No? Do I have a motion to approve agenda item?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all votes in favor?
Aye.
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 Item passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 11, consideration and possible action to appoint Commissioner Ford Kingsley to the South Texas Emergency Care Foundation Board.
So moved.
Second.
All votes in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item passes. And item 12, do we have any board appointments?
Yeah, I do. Jim Birschbach to Healthy Harlingen Advisory Board, and removing Nanette Spear from Senior Citizens Advisory Board, and appointing Linda Avila.
Okay.
None.
Daniel?
To the airport board, I'll be appointing George McShann. To the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee, be appointing Nicole Daniel. To the Community Development Advisory Board, I'll be reappointing Sylvia Flores, Tina Puente. To the Golf Course Advisory Board, reappointing Tim Elliott. To the Harlingen Community Improvement Board, reappoint Paul J. Durant. That's it for now.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all votes in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do we need to make a motion to go into executive session?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we need to go to executive session deliberation. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All votes in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now going into executive session. The time is 7:36 PM. The time is 7:47 PM. We're now out of executive session and reconvening into general session. There will be no action taken, so I hereby call this meeting
Adjourned.